I have been watching videos on narcissistic parents or estranged parent situations for years now. And if you've been watching for the last 4 or 5, you've seen I've gone from getting super triggered to a lot more calm, okay? We lock in, we decode the mechanisms, we figure it out, and we heal, and we get better, and it will be okay. So we are diving into another estranged parent situation, and this time, the mother whose child is no longer talking to them has decided to take her power back by starting a podcast. That's right, the Estranged Parent Podcast. Now, here's the thing. She does say that this is not for us. It is not for the children that might choose estrangement. This is for the parents that have been through it. And I know it's online, but we're not supposed to watch. You're not supposed to watch, okay? It's supposed to be only for the parents.
All right, welcome to Estranged and Rearranged with me, Candy Morris. Thank you for joining me. I am super excited to begin this new journey.
I just started breathing heavy, and I did take my beta blockers this morning, so I should be okay. I feel the fight or flight kicking in. We're gonna...
2 hours later.
Before we go into today's episode, I do really want to be clear about why this podcast is and what I'm trying to do here. As I mentioned, it's for estranged parents.
Not for you.
The parents who are confused,
right,
heartbroken,
not for us.
angry.
But hey, Candy, I gotta watch, okay? Look, I gotta watch.
Upset, blindsided. They know they made mistakes. The ones who have no idea why they are in this estranged situation. What I want this podcast to be is a place where parents can come and hear somebody, me, and some guests eventually talk about this in a real way. I'm not going to be
in a real way
anything, and it's definitely not going to be dumbed down.
Okay.
Society likes to do that, and that is not how I roll. Because this is how this feels. I'm going to talk about how I feel, and we're going to talk about how a lot of parents feel. I want to talk about the stuff that people actually deal with: the grief, the rejection, the shame, the rage, the confusion, the way this stuff gets into your head with your body and your whole entire life. And what I hope to give people is really just validation. Before I knew this was even a thing, I was searching for that. And once I found it, I know how helpful it was for me. So that is really what my hope is.
Okay.
I want you to feel seen.
What is she going to say?
Because I see you. I want you to know that you are not crazy. The world's going to...
And listen, I need you to brace yourself, because this speech is a little bit different than others that we've heard from estranged parents, but I need you to remember something. Children don't like to stop talking to their parents. It's a very, very hard decision to make. In fact, sometimes they stop, come back, come back. They bid, they plead, they just hope that the parent will change for them. Don't you love me enough to treat me well? Don't you love me enough to keep this relationship? And if the parent changes, usually the child stays. So when a parent is fully estranged, I have no choice but to believe that either what they did is so horrific and they can't admit to some of the big parts of it, or they're refusing to change. And so what this parent did was they went on and they broadcasted their victimhood to the world instead of changing and keeping that relationship with the child. So instead, she is showing how far she will go to deny that bad behavior. Now, my guess is here that she will admit to a small handful of things. I've seen that before, but there's going to be a huge piece that will be missing from her narrative.
I also want to help you understand that this pain that you're going through, you can get through it, and you can heal, and you can
get
stop
through
letting it wreck your whole entire life. And that's what I want to offer.
See, dude, I wish I called this out before she said it, because I was going to say it and then I didn't say it. What is she going to do, chat? She is going to package this up as, I'm hurt, I'm a victim, but I'm strong, and my kid's not going to get me. You're never going to get me, you little shit. I'm smarter than you, I'm faster than you, I'm stronger than you, and I'll start a podcast and I'll tell everybody how much of a victim I am, and then you'll see how horrible you are, and then you'll have to come crawling back on your knees to me if you want me. She's going to wrap this up in I'm so strong, and that is also very hurtful to children.
I help you name it. because naming it is going to make you help you understand it, and then it's going to help you get your footing back a little bit. So today's episode is about what estrangement does to a parent. I'm not going to talk about just the emotional, because most of you already know that, but we're going to talk about the mental, the physical, spiritual, socially. I'm also going to touch on that begging phase. We're going to touch on it a little bit today. Next episode is going to be really digging into that, but a whole lot of the estranged parents go through that phase. And I want to leave you, and what I hope to leave you with is a better understanding of why this feels so hard, and what you might be doing that makes it worse, and what you can do to move forward. So if you've been wrecked by this, like I feel like I was at one point, you've been living in your head.
Wrecked by your own behavior.
Begging, checking, spiraling, circling, doing anything you can, and feeling like you're not yourself anymore, this episode's going to be for you. Let's talk about
because being yourself is what caused the estrangement. It's time to evolve and grow. What's her name? Kathy, Katie, Candy. It's time to evolve and grow, Candy. You're not going to feel like yourself anymore. And also, it's interesting that she says begging. A lot of times when estranged parents come back and beg, or sometimes even an ex does this, or a friend will do this, right? The begging is hollow. And the person that is calling for change, the victim, can feel the hollowness in the bid. And they know deep down inside that this person has not changed at all. There's a hollowness there and a intent to misunderstand and preserve their own ego.
Actually does to a parent, because it does a hell of a lot more than hurt your feelings. But before we get into it, I think I need to tell you a little bit about me and why I feel like I have a lot to tell you.
What about your kid?
I'm going to go quickly so that this episode doesn't end up being about me, because that's not what we want. I want to tell you, my name is Candy. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I have 4 children. I gave birth to 4 children. One of my children did leave this world at the young age of 28 a few years ago. I have an estranged son. Those are my 2 middle children. I have bookend girls, an older daughter and the youngest daughter.
Leave this world is interesting because I feel like if it was a huge accident, then Candy might reference that. So I find it interesting that she says it that way.
I have bookend girls, an older daughter and the youngest daughter, who are very much in my life, love me for who I am, and we have a fantastic relationship. I have an education, which really doesn't mean a lot today. I'm a life coach, which I hope to someday do a lot more work with. And I have lived a lot of life, and I have a lot to offer. The estrangement is just a part of my life. And I want you to know that while I won't go into super great detail about why.
That's another jab at the child that left. The estrangement is just a small part of my life. My life is so full. You are small. I'm big. Okay?
I'm estranged from my son. I do want you to know, and I'm going to be transparent and always have been, that I am part of the group of parents who do know that they had a role in their estrangement. Period. End of story. There was many years of my parenting that I had no clue what I was doing, and I messed up.
That's my choice.
A lot of things I shouldn't have done. Wished I could have known to do things I should have done, and I didn't. And that affected my kids. End of story. Now,
another thing that these types of parents will do when they have multiple children, the child that speaks up first and says, Mom, you are hurting me. Mom, you are doing this. Mom, what you do is neglectful, or it's emotionally abusive, or it's something. They will deny, and try to retain their character, right? Well, then when a child that they like, maybe it's the favorite daughter, oldest daughter or something, also echoes some type of sentiment saying, well, part of this is true and it's fucked up. The parent will sometimes change for that sibling, that favorite child, and they will show that favorite child. They will basically, it's a snub at the child that called them out by saying, I can change and I'm willing to change for this person. But you're just crazy. It's a form of crazy making, and it's very, very, very sinister. So I wouldn't be surprised if that could be an element here, but of course, we don't know. It just made me think of that.
Now, Intent is not the same as impact. I understand that. I had impactful situations that unfortunately is where my son keeps me frozen. So while
My son keeps me
was
frozen.
able to grow as a person, educationally, spiritually, physically, every way possible, I became a much better person overall, which then bled into every other aspect of me and my life. And unfortunately, my son can't accept any of those roles. He's got me stuck and frozen. So that, in a nutshell, without telling you the
You're saying
deep dive
shit.
into our story, is why I'm estranged from my son. I also am estranged from my granddaughter. I had a 4.5-year relationship with her, and that was ended when my son decided 4 years ago to end his relationship with me. So now, that's enough about me. Let's get into what this...
Yo, she's still blaming him, dude. Okay, so it's the son. It's a lot for a dude to walk away, to be honest. Like, a lot of times chicks, like, we really be feeling it in our bones, you know? But like a dude, a lot of times dudes will just turn their brain off, right? They're like, yeah, whatever, mom's just that way. No, the dude left. Look, you guys know I love Factor, but let me tell you my newest little secret. Have you ever been on a long trip before, like 3 days, 5 days, a week, whatever, and you know that when you come home, you don't want to cook? You don't want to get back into the routine. You don't have groceries in the fridge. If you, like me, like Factor meals, kind of swap in and out of them occasionally when the week is right, I just found a new usage for you. That's right. You schedule your Factor box to get delivered the day that you get back. And guess what, babe? Stress-free week. But guess what? You don't even have to go on a trip to have a stress-free week. You could just order that box right now. Kick your feet up, because this week we're only washing forks. Every Factor meal is dietitian approved, made with the healthiest of ingredients, delivered straight to your doorstep, and it takes 2 minutes to heat and eat, girl. If you've tried Factor before, you know everybody has their favorite Factor meals. You got like 2, 3, 4 that you like. You know, lately I'm liking that filet mignon one. They sent me the wild mushroom and filet one. I said, girl, filet for me? So look, if you want to have a stress-free week, eat something tasty, have your calories counted for you, and not have to stress, go to factor.75.com and use my code. It's BOZEFB50, and you'll get 50% off of your first Factor box, and then free breakfast for a year. Hey, this is for new subscribers only. It varies by plan. So one free breakfast item per box for 1 year while the subscription is active. So all you got to do is go to factor75.com and then use my code BOZEFB50.
Listen, when your child cuts you off, pulls away, goes cold, or starts treating you like you barely exist, we know that doesn't just hurt one relationship. If you are like me and you have other children, it bleeds into the whole family. In my situation, my son is estranged from everyone, not just me. It starts getting into your family situations. Maybe you can or identify with that. Maybe you have a spouse or you don't. Maybe you have other children or you don't. But it eventually bleeds into everything. It gets into your head. It gets into your body, your confidence, your identity. That's a big one. It gets into your marriages, into your relationships, your ability to focus. It gets into your peace. And one of the biggest problems is that a lot of parents do not even realize how badly this has taken them down. I will tell you that for the first at least year, it was really bad for me. 2.5 years in, it was still not good. So I know personally, I can identify with you that this can affect every single part of your life because it's a huge pain. This is not, I'm just sad because somebody left my life, or I miss my kids, or we're having a rough time. This is the kind of pain that flattens you. Sorry, guys, I do have notes. There's no way I could have scripted this whole thing. So we're going to just go through what I have here. And I don't care whether you feel like you did everything right or you're like me and you know that I had a part in what is happening.
A part?
Either way, estrangement.
You know that I had a part in what was happening. Bro, you've been throwing blows at your son this whole fucking time. You can't talk to him, so you made a podcast about it.
It wears out your mind. It wears your mind so hard that you play out conversations, you replay situations. You got the texting going on, the constant phone calls, the emailing, the holidays, the last visit, the last fight, the last normal moments, everything.
normal
And you
moment.
think about it all and you're like, when did it all go to hell? You start trying to figure out exactly what it was and where it got broken. What was it? Was that years ago? Was it that?
No. The last time that you remember things being normal, they were not normal at all. The child was pretending to go along with things. The child was pretending to smile and be present because they just couldn't handle you anymore. And when she says you're looking for the moment where everything went wrong, she's looking for an ending that feels safe to her. She's looking for an ending that doesn't hurt her ego, that doesn't call too much attention to what she really is. And as she sits here and describes how painful it was and how dark it was, a whole, 6 months, a year of all of this, Candy, that's called growth, okay? When you are doing something in your life that no longer serves you and that trait is showing up in your life over and over and over again, you will literally be called by life in a way where you will feel heavy, you will feel tired, you will feel broken. And this is your opportunity for this trait that is not serving you to leave your life and to find a new one. But when it goes on for as long as she's saying a year, it means that you're resisting. You're resisting the thing. And I'm not talking about a depression or anything like that, but have any of you guys ever gone through a serious change, like a massive evolution in your person? I had a couple weeks ago where I was journaling something and I found a trait in myself that I really, really didn't like. I found that I constantly live in the future and I'm constantly scanning things and it makes it difficult for people to connect with me. When I looked back on that trait, I felt so gross. I felt disgust towards myself. I felt very critical of myself. And I thought about the ways that trait has protected me when I was growing up and then how it later started to affect my relationships. I couldn't be present and not everybody could connect with me. And so that was something that was really hard for me to work through. And I worked through it and it was hard and it hurt. I didn't just externalize it by texting everybody about my victimhood and blah, 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 blah. You sit there and you journal, babe. You eat it up. You take it in. And after that, you eat this old version of yourself and you evolve and grow bigger into a new one. But if you resist it, yeah, you'll be sitting there for a fucking year being like, why is this happening to me?
What was it? Was that years ago? Was it that one moment? Some of us do have a defining moment that they can recognize. Some of us have years of built up moments where it wasn't just one boom instance where your kid says, yep, we're done, it's over. It's more of a buildup of things that happened over the years.
Yeah,
Either
because
way,
they start to realize your
before you know it, your
behaviors.
mind's running like a detective. And you're never sleeping. And that's exactly what it was for me. I'm going to throw in little interjections about how it felt for me. For that first year, I couldn't do anything, guys. I literally was worthless as a person. I couldn't get out of bed, couldn't go to work, couldn't stop contacting or trying to anyway. My husband finally had to look me in the face and say, what are you doing? You're destroying yourself. I was living in guilt, living in anger, and going back and forth between both of those. And that can be super exhausting. It can get into your body too. This kind of grief can affect you physically. It can get into your mental health, your emotional health. It can make you sick to your stomach. As I mentioned earlier, you can have sleep issues. Some people talk about having their chest feel like they're just not well at all. Heart palpitations. Some people go numb. They feel panicked, develop anxiety.
The estranged parents are developing anxiety and they have to go to work. Call the National Guard. We need to call somebody. The police, government, something. They're anxious and confused and they still have to get up and go to work. This is horrible. This is terrifying. What a tragedy. So tragic.
Have to go to work, but we still have to
call
move
the
forward.
President.
And doing that with
FBI.
this kind of effect on your body can be very, very difficult. It matters to say this because otherwise you start thinking that something's wrong with you. And there is. You got to know that there is something wrong. It's very, very wrong that this is happening. And that's why it hurts so bad. And that's why your body knows it.
Something's wrong.
The next part I want to talk about is how it messes with how you see yourself. And
How
this is
you
kind of
see
one of the
yourself.
biggest-
Oh no, Candy, did it make you see yourself as the monster that you are that abused her kid? Did it? Was it horrible? Was it shifting your self-image into something that made you... I digress. Yo, chat, this is a MIDI controller. I'm hooking this shit up to a speaker next time we stream so that when Candy makes me blast off like this, I can go...
The next part I want to talk about is how it messes with how you see yourself. And this is kind of one of the biggest things that we talk about a lot in our group. I want to mention, I'm going to take a minute here and mention that we do have a Facebook support group. It's called When They Walk Away.
Oh,
it is an estranged parent support group. So we do our best to try to vet everybody.
And these statements, when they walk away, tagline, when they walk away and how to get your power back. It's such a jab at the child. It's literally like, you're not going to get me. That's like what they're doing. And that is the mechanism. That's the mechanism that hurts. A child that is screaming, I'm not trying to get you. I'm not trying to dominate you. I'm not trying to get one over on you. I want to be equals with you for a second. And you know what? I say this all the time. Parents, you're not supposed to be your kid's best friend. Like, you're not supposed to, like, you know, your daughter turns 20 and you're like, oh, we need to go out drinking, partying, right? But there are moments where you're allowed to be human and equals, even with the child. Show them that they matter. Show them that they're important. Because leaving them in a constant state of dominant hierarchy, it does something to them, especially if your method of doing it is manipulative or hurtful in a sense, right? But a lot of times kids just want you to come down, level to them, eye to eye, and say that you matter. And some people like this, they just can't do that.
And make sure that people who don't belong there are not there. But it is a support group, and we do have support meetings here. But what I was coming back to is the biggest thing that we chat about and that I run into is the fact that estranged parents a lot of times lose their identity. They forget who they are because a lot of us put a lot of effort and a lot of ourselves into being a parent. And this is one of the worst parts. And I cannot tell you, I think it comes up daily for me. Most parents, being a parent was one of the biggest things of who we are. Some people put all of their life into it. Some estranged parents, that's what they were. They didn't work outside the home. They were parents. They were coaches. They were homework help. They were the teachers. They were everything to their kids.
That doesn't mean anything.
That was their identity.
That literally doesn't mean anything. That's another credibility shield. That's what she did at the beginning too. When she said, let me tell you a little bit about myself, she deployed the credibility shield. Now, there are times when deploying a credibility shield or citing your resume, in a sense, is totally appropriate. It makes 100% sense. A work setting, meeting somebody new or something. But to do it on this type of podcast, I would describe that as a credibility shield with the intent to manipulate. And so here, she's once again trying to put this credibility shield around these other people. They were coaches. They were homework helpers. They were teachers. Dude, I've seen enough teachers go to jail on this fucking channel.
And because that relationship gets cut off, some people don't know what to do with themselves. And then they think, what does this say about me? If I'm no longer a parent, what am I exactly? Does this mean it cancels everything about what I did? Does it cancel everything I did well? Just because this one kid decided that they don't want anything to do with me? Is that where I need to live because I must suck as a parent? Absolutely not. That's where shame comes in.
She literally just said, you're not going to do this to me. Do I need to live in the reality where one kid says something about me? No, absolutely not. I'm going to leave too. That's what she just said. Bitch, this is your kid, bro. And they did it because they wanted you to get better. I hate these people so bad.
And that is what estrangement tries to do. It tries to shame you into believing that because you're not a parent anymore, that means you're not anything. And if you sit in that too long, you start believing it. And what I want to say about that part in particular is I would like you to think about this. If identity is one of the things that you're struggling with, I would like you to remember that you were something before you were a parent. Yeah. None of us were born being parents. You had interests. You had, I'm sure all of you had other things that you were doing. You were a person. And right now, just because you can't actively participate in the role of being a parent, your identity is not taken from you. You are still a parent. You just can't participate in that role. And that means you have to find other things to do, because if you sit in that, you will stay stuck. And I don't want you to do that. I want to talk a little bit about...
No, you don't stay stuck. You take the criticism and you change for your child. You don't have to stay stuck. You don't have to do that, dude. Oh, Candy, you got 5 or 10 more minutes.
the estrangement situation happens, a lot of you are going to identify with me on this. We're going to talk about that begging phase. This was a big one for me, huge.
The
actually.
hollow begging.
The begging can look all kinds of different ways. The texting, the phone calling, the emailing, the drive-bys, the trying to reach them through social media, the stalking of social media, stalking their homes, trying to get to them through other family members or their friends. A lot of you are going to know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, I am not saying that you shouldn't do these things. And I'm not saying it to try to shame anyone. To be honest, I'm actually a little ashamed of myself. I am one of those people that don't erase any texts or messages. I have friends that every single night, that's what they do at the end of the day. They erase everything. I keep everything.
Who are you friends with? What is your husband wiping his phone every night? You need to send that phone to the police.
I have, just to kind of go back, especially for this next episode that we'll be doing on begging in particular, gone back to see just what it looked like for me. And to be honest, I'm a little bit ashamed of myself and embarrassed. We're talking hundreds. And I know haters are going to come at me about this one because not only estranged parents are going to watch this podcast. We already know that. I've been through this before.
Hi.
We're going to have other people who want to criticize me.
It's me. It's us. Here we are. We're here. You knew we were coming, Candy. You knew we were coming. And you want to live in your little fortress reality. Like, hang on to your identity. I know. We're just here to watch. We're just here to watch. Okay. Who said, hey, girl? Hey.
I'm going to say, no, that I've been through this before. We're going to have other people who want to criticize me. And they're going to say that that was all kinds of bad things. All the texting, the phone calling, the emailing, the whatever you call it. I am embarrassed. Hundreds of emails. Hundreds of texts.
So you were harassing them.
A little embarrassed of some of the things that I said in them too.
Bitch, you were harassing them because you felt entitled to them because your identity connection to your child is parent. She even said herself that prior to this, you're a person before you were a parent. Yeah, you are. And that, you know what? I bet you that's hard for parents. It's got to be hard. Letting go of the hierarchy title of parent with a child. Because that, especially if you're somebody that's like egotistical or like Candy or whatever the fuck this is, like you're really looking down on your kid. And then you never stop. You never do. You need to do a little title swap or maybe turn into yourself. I think a very simple thing is like, when your kid turns like 20 or 25, like fucking kick it with them. Be yourself. Like if you would normally drink a beer on the back patio, like be yourself. You know what I mean? Like it's just so odd. They won't let go of the I'm the parent and you're the child kind of thing. Even when they're like 20, 25, 30. And like kids have every right to walk away after that. And I find this so odd. But her saying that she sent hundreds of emails. Notice that she admits to the embarrassment of sending the emails, but she doesn't admit to the entitlement and the ownership that she felt over the child. Most people would not send hundreds of messages unless they felt entitled to do so, And I bet you her types of messages were not, mean or honest. It was probably, I love you. I can't believe you're doing this to me and I love you. She probably was sending an email on Monday, I love you. An email on Tuesday, I love you. An email Wednesday, just remember that mom loves you. That's harassment. It's harassment. And this is not love. This is harassment.
I just mentioned this one memory to him, this really, really good memory. Maybe it'll somehow trigger a good memory in him and he'll be like, hey, yeah, my mom's right. Yeah, just let me respond to this one. Yeah, no.
Manipulation through care.
And I'm sure some of you had too. And the thing is, this phase can damage so much of you. A lot of parents can't get out of it. I want you to understand that I don't want you to be ashamed of it. I just want you to know that it's a pretty natural part of the estrangement for a lot of parents. But what this begging will do is it will wear your dignity down. And that's the honest truth. It'll wear your nervous system down. It'll wear your hope down. It'll keep that nervous system so lit up that you're going to keep checking and keep checking and keep checking because you want to stay there right where you're at. You're waiting, you're watching, hoping, trying again, hurting again.
Just
and after
to get
a
response, just to know that she has a little bit of control. You guys can hear this, right? She hasn't changed. Now she's just gone to therapy and learned a bunch of therapy speak and wrapped it up in the manipulation. Like that's even this is what people mean when they say that somebody using like therapy speak in like casual conversations or conflict like comes off as a red flag, because it fucking is, dude. You should be asking questions, not making statements and then expecting the person to react the way that you want them to in the little movie that you made in your head.
You're going to realize that no matter how much begging you do, it's not going to change a thing. No message is a message. And I would encourage you that if your adult child, now I'm never going to be telling you to do anything in here. I'm just going to offer
This is still her harassing him
for things that worked for me or didn't work for me. But if you have an adult child that says leave them alone and stop messaging them, I want you to consider doing exactly that. Because this begging phase, it matters. It can hurt you in so many ways. And some of that, again, can hurt you so badly that you lose sight of everything. I talked recently with a mom, and her and I worked really hard together because she couldn't go a day, not day. And I tell you, I've been there, so I can identify with her one day without trying to reach out. And here's the other thing. In the beginning of my begging stages, when this first started, my son would tell me repeatedly, leave me alone, stop calling me, stop texting me, stop emailing me. And I would say, oh, hell no. There is absolutely no way I would ever stop doing that.
Because this is love, and I'm your mom. This is what love is. No, this is manipulation through care. It's like, it's kind of predatory in a way because they want something from you. They want to control you, but they're wrapping it up with like, I care about you. I love you. I'm your mom. This is what love is. And then what do these people do? They go out into the world and they seek out abusive people because they're taught that harassment and abuse is love. And also, would you guys not agree that after her sending the hundreds of emails to the child that said, please stop contacting me, that her creating this podcast is a further form of harassment? This is like, I don't stop talking just because you tell me to. That's why he don't like you. That's why a lot of people probably don't like you, because you don't listen.
And one of these days you're going to recognize that, this is all going to fade away and we're going to go back to the way we were, at least some of the good times anyway. We're going to be able to, fix this.
You can't stop me.
Happens
I'm in your space.
Is you get to a point where every unanswered message or every answered message with something not nice or downright evil is hurtful to you. And I do remember telling him there's absolutely no way I will ever stop. You can tell me to stop if you want to, but I'm not stopping, because you know what that'll mean is that I don't care anymore. It means I don't love you anymore. It means I gave up, and I'm never, ever, ever going to get to a point when we reunify or reconciliate. You'll message again. Whatever word you want to use. When we get back together, you're never going to be able to say that my mom gave up on me.
Yo, you, lady. Like, this is so fucking embarrassing. Does she have a job? Because, like, can you imagine working with a person like this? This is just crazy to me. Also, sorry guys, sometimes I'm a bit harsh on these things because some of you guys have parents like this. The dude that estranged her could be watching this, and hey, buddy, your mom, for real. This is crazy behavior. This is crazy. And you know what else is really wild? You know what's really, really wild? I've done a lot of videos on estrangement. I've talked to a lot of people that are estranged. I'm cool with my parents. I had a brief period of estrangement, But like, sometimes estrangement is temporary. It could be 6 months. Have you guys ever been estranged from your parents for a while, or just been like, I need to get away. I need to reset my nervous system. I need to know who I am. Because your parents sometimes can really control your nervous system. So even getting away for a little bit is really good for you. Sometimes estrangement is 6 months, a year, 2 years. Somebody in chat said 10 years, then mended. I don't think you can mend after this podcast. She has just chosen her fate. And she's going to intentionally turn a blind eye to what she did by creating this show forever. I actually think going live and doing this after the estrangement is, this is the ultimate nuke. Like, she's going to act like it's like still his choice and she's the victim. And honestly, dude, if I were him, I would never talk to her again. Ever, 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 ever. Sometimes kids in abusive homes, they can become very avoidant. Are any of you guys avoidant? I'm a bit avoidant sometimes at times. I'm avoidant for things I can avoid, but if I have to face it, I'll get in there and I'll do it. But people that are avoidant, and some of you will know this if you date avoidant people, their greatest art sometimes is showing how much they don't care about something. Like they sometimes when they walk away from something, their brain really is turned off. It really is disconnected. But sometimes they take a lot of pride in that artwork. I can walk away from this thing that once meant a lot to me. And that is their story. That is their art. That is their work. And so I don't think that she believes her child has it in them. But I fully believe that after a parent does something like this, a child could choose to never, ever, ever speak to you again. And in 10 years, 15 years, 20, she still doesn't believe this is real, you know, and she doesn't see the damage that she's doing.
I am speaking directly to you. If you are the one doing all of the begging, consider trying not doing that. I think I lost my train of thought to you on that parent that I was working with. Anyway, let's go back to her. She got to a point where she messaged me and she went a whole day without texting her child. And she told me that it made her so sad, and it made her worry that her child wouldn't think that she was still wanting them back in her life. And
shut the fuck up. The texting and harassing the children is a control mechanism. It makes the parent feel like they're in control. They're holding on to that identity of, I'm a good parent, I'm kind, I love them, I'm reaching out. And then when they decide not to text, they lose their control mechanism and they have to sit in the pile of shit that they created over the last 18 years. And it's uncomfortable. They've been turning a blind eye to it. And they're like, look how fun it is playing in the shit with me. And then they get left in the shit by themselves and they don't understand. They're like, well, how did all this shit get here? And it's like, you did it. You shit all over the place and you just left it there. That's what you did. And you're acting like it doesn't smell like shit in here.
If you are doing something, literally anything in your life really, that doesn't make you feel good and you keep doing it, it's kind of on you. And I'm saying that with love and respect. If you trying to contact your kid does nothing but make you feel bad, I would encourage you to stop doing it.
Yeah, you know what? Okay, I'm done. You and the shit sisters can have each other. Wait, yeah, the shit sisters can stay together.